Hey, if you're acquiring a business in 2026, just watch this video. Today, I'm going to share a little bit more about a strategy on how you can actually close better and more premium deals for you as a buyer. So I'm Edward Ambrosi. I've been closing a lot of deals last 7 years within our ecosystem, and you got to understand that a lot of these lessons or a lot of these strategies I've already used on a lot of different clients that I've consulted, and they work. And you got to understand that also the market has evolved, has shifted, and I want to share essentially what I think is going to work in 2026. And I have some notes here that I'm going to go for and read, and I want to share that with you so that you can learn. So first of all, what's the core strategy that we're going to be focusing on today? So you got to understand that a lot of buyers today are going to start actually doing a lot more local deals versus what is called a nationwide deal. So essentially what's going to happen is more buyers are going to study the local market they're in, and they're going to gain more credibility in their locality, and they're going to be able to do a lot more face-to-face conversations with either brokers, sellers, quality of earnings professionals, lawyers, lenders, and such and such. So, at the end of the day, the market is transitioning towards local work and local business development and so forth. Now, if there are buyers that are buying, let's say, remote business models that have essentially they don't have an office, it's running it a different way than a typical brick and mortar business, then these buyers will typically succeed because they have a very specific track record in that field. So they're going to be able to do it remotely, but they will need to have a very specific track record. Now, what I also see is now people being successful, they are building a deal team preliminary before everything else. So, meaning they want to start positioning themselves in the market in a way that they're credible, which means they're going to have some sort of deal team, deal flow team, deal analysis team, or person that is going to help them with that. They will align themselves with maybe a financial broker that is going to help them with getting debt. They will align themselves with search funds or investors or people that will potentially co-invest with them. So building contacts and building relationships quickly in the market is really going to be helpful for you. So I think a lot of successful buyers have that in-house and can move in with confidence. The third thing about it is that a lot of these buyers that are successful, they have a lot of proximity to local contacts as well that have access to deals, such as accountants, lawyers, lenders, brokers, intermediaries. And they're also at the same time able to curate their own deal flow, meaning they're using technology, they're using letters, they're using emails, they're using what is called instantly.ai, if you can Google it up and understand email automation. And they're able to also layer that on top of LinkedIn, layer that on top of phone calls or cold calls or follow up on phone calls. So that way we can get a better result out of all these conversations with all these businesses that are reaching out to. A lot of buyers that I'm seeing that are succeeding now are also focusing on retiring boomers that have consistent cash flow over the last 5 years. And these businesses also have a proper team in place to help the buyer post acquisitions. Post acquisitions becomes the new most important thing in acquisitions. It's not what you're doing before, it's what you're doing after that is going to yield you a better capital returns and you building a lot more wealth. I also see a lot of people actually putting in less and less and less debt on deals, meaning if we're used to in the past seeing a lot of people putting in a lot of debt on deals and using a lot of commercial loans and using a lot of SBA loans and using a lot of debt mechanisms, I see more buyers being more liquid now and putting in a little bit more liquidity in the deals to be able to decrease their risk and increase that debt service cover ratio number so that they uh, again, to risk the situation, we don't have as much debt. I've saw a lot of roll-ups stories and a lot of big acquisition stories where people are putting too much debt and that completely destroy the deal later. So consider that. Consider your own skin of the game while you're doing this in 2026. Working capital is a big topic as well, meaning when you're getting into a deal and you want to essentially buy the company, you want to make sure you're negotiating working capital in some of these deals. A lot of the times, the seller is going to say, "Hey, look, we want to take all the cash out of a capital, out of a business, and we're not going to really keep much working capital." Now, A lot of these things are negotiable, and you need to understand that this is going to be a big component on you also, again, being successful post acquisitions. You're going to use some of that capital to reinvest it back in operations and sales, marketing, and implementation of AI, things like that. I think another big trend in the ecosystem that I see is AI and automation implementation to increase the sales of that business and increase the marketing flow and the customer support flow in that business model, depending on who you're selling to, of course. As I said before, post acquisitions is going to become super important. So a major focus of the next 180 days to stabilize the asset of your business and don't go into acquisitions mode after you've immediately acquired the business. We've used to do that in the past where we bought a business, we quickly went and acquired something else, an add-on or something else. And I think this is going to work less and less. And you don't want to go in acquisitions mode. If you didn't fully figure out the operations of a business in a way that you stabilize it and you either increase the business. A lot of people will also tell me that they don't have time or they don't have enough experience to get into this. Now, what you got to realize is that yes, you don't have as much time. Yes, maybe not everybody has the most amount of experience to get into the space, but what you got to understand is it's a logistical issue. At the end of the day, you could solve your time by creating a better schedule, by working with somebody that understand what you're going to do and how you're going to do that process and how you're going to build a schedule. And also, you can hire a team. You can build a team around you as the buyer to gain more exposure to experience. So that's solvable. We've closed, as I said, more than 100 deals last 7 years. You got to understand that we've done that in a lot of different industries. We know what works, what doesn't. And if you want to move faster, just send me a message on LinkedIn. We can work with you one-on-one exclusively, which means there's no gaps, there's no guessing, there's no figuring out exactly what you're going to do and what next steps. You don't need to go for all these menial tasks and risks along the way of buying a business. What usually takes you 1 or 2 or 3 years to do, and you can make so many mistakes and you can lose so much money along the way and so much time. We can compress this in 3, 4, 6 months with very few risks for you as a buyer. You get direct access to us. You're going to get all the playbooks. You're going to get deals right away. You're going to be first in line as far as support. When deals are going to show up, uh, you get all your questions answered. You're almost like on speed dial with us. So that way you're getting answers immediately in a few minutes or hours, not weeks, before these good deals disappear in the market. And then you can also get deals access in hours, analysis done in hours. Uh, you already know what you need to know, and you know it a lot quicker. And you can kind of position yourself as the buyer who's winning deals over in the local market you're in. We also have a lot of outside financing and contacts and accountants and lawyers and investors and lenders, and we can introduce you to them to help you close deals a lot quicker. We're not just giving you advice and consulting and helping you with deals and deal flow, but we're actually able to build a team around you to help you close things quicker. And I think this is the highest lever highest lever thing you can do in the market right now to get a deal done and be extremely protected while you're doing the deal as a buyer. So just consider that if you want to actually implement the process correctly. Now, what I want to talk today about is also premium deals. So this is a topic where I think the market is gonna have a lot more success within that. What we consider premium deals are usually companies above a million EBITDA with very low multiples still, typically sub four in service-based companies, less concentration risk, good working capital availability, healthy balance sheet, and a more consistent, of course, stable P&L and a very strong team behind it. Uh, these deals still require a lot of due diligence, right? On-site due diligence, quality of earnings, legal, commercial due diligence. But if you have that opportunity in front of you, close to those numbers, this is how you get a lot more successful is by you doing premium deals rather than very small deals. I know there's not a lot of them on the market, and you also don't need to be afraid to go into that market. You don't need to get afraid to go up to 3 million EBITDA if you have a unique buyer advantage of a market. Maybe in professional services, healthcare services, manufacturing, home services, commercial stuff, government backed work, long-term contracts, especially where you can again use AI deployment and do value add with that. A lot of people will say, hey, but I don't have enough capital to pursue a lot of these deals and I'm not ready yet. Yes, that's true. In some cases, a lot of first-time buyers don't have as much liquidity. But again, what you need to get comfortable with is a few things. So, first of all, you will need to get comfortable with mastering strategic direct outreach to businesses using what I call a multi-channel approach, like letters, emails, calls, LinkedIn, content, going face to face on management calls with sellers and brokers so that way you can figure this out. So you're going to need to become a master of that process. There's no way around it. Two is you're going to need to become very good at fast underwriting and creating an LOI based on real operational concerns of real issues of a P&L, real issues of a balance sheet. So that way you can present something that makes sense and that is bankable before you actually go and raise loads of money. And then you got to be ready to overpay versus the standard biz buy sell deals you're used to. You're going to need to understand that, hey, you're going to need to get more money. You're going to need to get more capital, debt, equity, and typically more equity to be able to close a lot of these deals. So these are the main tactics is direct outreach, quicker analysis, and be ready to overpay and be ready to actually go and raise more money to be able to close a premium deal that is less risky for you later. So again, you're going to need to solve premium deal flow, fast analysis, capital raising, and then of course, as I said, post acquisitions, operations, and support to be able to do this. Again, if you need more help, just reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to get on a Zoom call, sit down with you, look at your goals, look at what you've done in the past, look at what deals maybe you have, and that way we can build a better roadmap for you for 2026 to closing a deal. Hope this was helpful. Let me know if it is, and send me a DM if you need more help. Thanks. Bye.